within the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is now essentially running the country at the presidency level. And I think that there are different ideological trends within that context. There's an ideological trend which is in favor of strong relations, and then there's another one which is questioning it, which is leaning a little bit towards some of the interpretations of the Salafist branch of politics that's in the country now. So an educated and an intellectual debate, I think, should really run away from ideologies and more against what are in the national interests of Egypt. And I think if that happens, then perhaps some of the things that were being suggested by my colleague, Mr. Ahmed, might transpire in a positive sense.
Right, hopefully a positive sense, Councillor Mahmoud. In another positive sense, we find Iran hailing the Arab Spring uprisings. However, there has been, like between quotations, some sort of support for the regime of Syria, in spite of the fact that there is bloodbath taking place against civilians. Your interpretation of this, and how far can this affect Iran's relations with the Arab world?
Yes, I think, as you said, that Iran has hailed for the, as it's called, the Arab uprising, and you know, we have witnessed different orientations, different nature of the nation in the region. And for any nation, for example, for Tunisia or Libya or Egypt or other countries, or Bahrain or Syria, they have their own specific natures, depend on their internal and the history and the culture of this nation. But at the same time, what is very important for Iran, that the movements and what is witnessing, these democratically movement of the people in the region to be independent, because we consider it as a movement by the people. And as we have seen in some countries like Egypt, a free election process, and it has been very fruitful for the people, for the region. Alhamdulillah, has been very peacefully. But what we are witnessing in Syria, we are feeling a kind of I think maybe external interference in Syria.
So that's the pretext on why you're still supporting the regime, that you think that there is an external plan against Syria?
Because we think that, you know, Iran is looking to Syria from different aspects. Because Syria has been for a long time a key factor against Zionist regime, and it has been a good supporter for resisting generally in the region, and especially for resisting in Lebanon and in other Palestinian factions. And we think that why some powers internationally and maybe some regional powers trying by any means, by any way, to interfere in internal affairs of Syria, and they don't agree to anything, to nothing else, the collapsing of the regime, because they have been raised different discussion, different ideas and initiatives for finding a peaceful solution for Syria crisis. But at the same time, everybody, and I think even the international power should worry about what it will happen in Syria in the future. As everybody knows, maybe some extremist forces and groups will come in Syria and to be against the benefit of any parts. And even for some regional countries in our region. And this is, you know, that I think violation from any parts is condemned. I'm not supporting violation against any part from the people and from the side of people or from the government. But I think we are looking for, and we are looking at Syria and Egypt strategically, and what is very beneficial for the people of the region, for the people of Syria, for the Palestine cause. And I think these are the aspects that should be considered, and or will be considered for every side, especially for the people and for the nation and for the countries in the region.
Right, Mr. Mostafa, you're reading.
And at the same time, sorry,
sure,
I would like to point out for some other uprising in the region. You know that in Bahrain, this is the same. At the same time, you know that the United States of America, other European countries worry about what is happening in Syria. I'm not sure that they are worried about the Syrian people. Why? They have forgotten what is happening in Bahrain. I would like to ask the Bahraini people, don't they have any, you know, that democratic or even human rights to defend them? They have forgotten, you know, as for the mass media in their statements and in their meetings. They have forgotten everything. I think that they don't worry for the Syrian people, but for their own benefits.
It's a game of interest here.
Of course, and there was a previous program for me. It was at the same program. I was commenting over 30 minutes concerning the Syrian. This is the most complicated situation worldwide. It is not so simple as it seems in the media, and people can treat with it. No, it is like a clash of the titans in between the new powers like China, Russia, Iran, on the other side Turkey, United States, the Eurozone. Also, the peoples are free in order to decide what should to do. However, it is not a sectarian. However, it is not a sectarian dispute as it is in the media or something like that, because Syria is based on 18 sects, not only Sunnite. No, they have Shiites, they have Syrians, they have Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, and others. Therefore, it is not a sectarian dispute, but it is, as I told you, it's a clash of the titans, and they need more cooperation in between the two, you know, sides or the two parties, and the Arab League should do a lot in order to digest such situation. Why we are not approaching, for example, Iran, Turkey, and Europe on the same table, Russia and China, and try to put and make a settlement for such situation? It is the most important thing, and I said that in Tehran. If you wanted to solve the Syrian situation, we have to sit together, and we have to put off all the interests, and we think of the interest of the Syrian people. And if we think, as Mr. Mahmoud said in his comment a little bit before, we have to think also of, you know, the human rights in the GCC countries. This is very important. Why they are not highlighting the situation in Bahrain? In Yemen, did Yemen accomplish its revolution? No, because there was some sort of intervention from Saudi Arabia and from the States, US. That was very frank. But I'm trying to, turning point right now, concerning the economic relationship between Iran and Egypt. We are not talking, we have to talk about the education in Iran. This is very important. How we should move ahead in business with Iran, how to elaborate a lot of investments and things like that. We have to get the benefit of the Iranian experience, especially in education, because they don't have a private system of education like here in Egypt. It was all public schools and public universities. Despite Iran representing about 20 times the Arab world in scientific research, and that was highlighted by Science magazine. It is an American accredited scientific magazine. How they achieved such development and growth in education. We have to...
Yeah, of course, definitely we need... those are all experiences that, and we learn lessons. Mr. Bastawi, opening new ventures with Tehran economic-wise, what are the sectors that you think we need to further boost investment in, and how about the positive points? Well, Mr. Ahmed had noted more about the field of education, which is quite crucial also for Egypt, while we are looking for an overhaul for the whole educational system, moving into quality education. How can there be like some sort of lessons taught and benefiting from the other experience?
I think there's a lot that can be learned from Iran. I think Iran has been extremely resourceful in managing to build and maintain its economy, even though it is rooted in a petroleum based economy, but in managing the ability to build and expand that economy under very difficult constraints over several years. And I think that in that process there's a lot that we can learn from in this country. I think science, technology in particular, when we talk about the education sector, what is it that has happened within Iran that has been able to produce a generation of people that are able to contribute to serious technological development? Some of the technological developments in Iran have been noted even in Western media as being very much competitive and on a par even with the scientific achievements taking place in some of the more developed countries, with lasers, for example. So there's a range of areas that can be looked at.
Not only lasers, it's also the satellite industry, shuttles, aerospace industry. Right now it is very, very advanced over there in Iran. And of course the nuclear power. I think it's a very, very high tech industry. We should learn of that. How they make this internal experience, this is very important.
We'll get back to nuclear power specifically, but right after this report, ladies and gentlemen, you're still watching the Daily Debate for tonight, and the main topic of discussion is a new chapter of relations between Egypt and Iran, both politically and economically. Stay tuned.
January 25 revolution looks to have opened a new page in the traditionally fractious relations between Egypt and Iran. Tehran led the way for regional powers seeking favor with a revolution in Egypt. For Egyptian analysts, however, Tehran should take care with its rhetoric on the Egyptian revolution.